If asking for help feels physically uncomfortable, like admitting weakness or losing control, here's a question worth sitting with. When was the first time someone offered you help and it didn't come? Because that moment taught your brain something, and it's still running that lesson today. And before you say, "I'm just independent," I know. You are independent. You've handled everything on your own. You've survived things that required you to be. This isn't about tearing that down. This is about understanding why something that was supposed to protect you became the thing that isolates you. The standard narrative says independence is strength, that self-reliance is the ultimate goal. But back in 1969, John Bowlby, the psychologist who founded attachment theory, found something that challenges that entire worldview. Children who couldn't rely on their caregivers didn't become independent by choice. They became independent by necessity. Their brains made a calculation. Depending on others is dangerous. Bowlby called these internal working models, cognitive maps your nervous system builds in childhood to predict whether the people around you are safe to need. In the next 9 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 3 levels of independence, from healthy self-reliance to something researchers are now calling identity-fused independence, and show you exactly where the line is between choosing to handle things yourself and being unable to accept help even when you're drowning. But first, the lie that made all of this seem normal. We live in a culture that worships self-reliance. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Don't be a burden. Figure it out yourself. You're carrying a couch up 3 flights of stairs alone. Someone offers to grab the other end. And something in you, something fast, something automatic, says, "No, I'm fine." And why wouldn't you feel this way? Society rewards it. Your boss calls you reliable. Your friends say you're so strong. Nobody worries about you because you never give them a reason to. The problem is that "I don't need anyone" feels like power. But power you cannot turn off isn't power. It's a program. In 2024, a team of researchers published a study following 2,245 adults. Not a clinical sample, not therapy patients, just general population adults. And they found something that directly explains why you're watching this video. The adults who'd experienced childhood neglect, not necessarily physical, not necessarily dramatic, had developed a specific behavioral pattern. The researchers, led by Laura Eggert, found that childhood neglect was associated with 3 avoidant coping behaviors: behavioral disengagement, self-blame, and withdrawal from support. The measurable, documented refusal to rely on others, even when relying on others was the rational choice. Think about that. Not what happened to you, what didn't. The hug that didn't come. The question nobody asked. The emotion nobody noticed. Independence isn't binary. It exists on a spectrum. And where you fall on that spectrum tells you something important about what your nervous system learned when you were too young to question it. I call it the 3 levels of independence. Level 1 is where most people think they are. Level 3 is where most hyper-independent people actually live, and it's the level nobody talks about. Level 1 is healthy independence. You can do things on your own, and you can ask for help when you need it. The key word is can. You have the ability to be self-sufficient, but also the ability to receive support without it threatening your sense of self. If someone offers to help you carry groceries, you might say yes or no based on actual need, not based on a reflex that fires before you've even processed the question. Someone asks if you want help with a project at work. Your brain fires a response before you've finished thinking about it. "No, I've got it." Not hostile, not dramatic, just automatic. Later that night, you're overwhelmed by the workload, exhausted, and you know, rationally, that you could have said yes, that accepting help would have made this easier. But something about saying yes felt wrong, like giving up a piece of yourself. This is level 2, adaptive independence. Your brain learned, somewhere between age 4 and 14, that the people you depended on were inconsistent. Sometimes they showed up, sometimes they didn't. And your nervous system did what any intelligent system would do. It stopped relying on unpredictable inputs. Level 2 isn't a character flaw. It's an adaptation that made perfect sense in the environment where it was learned. The problem is that the environment changed, but the adaptation didn't. If level 2 felt familiar, that automatic "I've got it" before your brain catches up, you're not alone. Most people watching this video live here. But level 3 is the one that changes everything. You're sick. Really sick. Your partner offers to take you to the doctor. Your friend offers to bring soup. Your parent calls and asks if you need anything. And your body has a reaction that doesn't match the situation. Your chest tightens. Your jaw clenches. It's not that you don't want help. It's that receiving help feels like a threat, like something is being taken from you. Here's what's actually happening. At level 3, self-sufficiency isn't just a behavior anymore. It's become your identity. It's how you know who you are. I'm the one who handles things. I'm the one who doesn't need anyone. A 2025 study published in the International Journal of Interdisciplinary Approaches in Psychology investigated this pattern directly. They found that individuals displaying hyper-independence exhibited a specific combination: avoidant attachment paired with deep internalized shame. When help was offered, it didn't just feel uncomfortable, it triggered a shame response. Because accepting help threatened the foundational self-concept that had kept them safe since childhood. Think about that. Accepting help triggers shame. Not inconvenience, not annoyance. Shame. That's why just ask for help doesn't work. You're not refusing help because you're strong. You're refusing it because your identity depends on not needing it. Which level did you recognize yourself in? These aren't rankings from weak to strong or broken to healthy. They're descriptions of how your nervous system adapted to what it was given. If you're at level 2 or 3, you didn't choose this. Your brain chose it for you, in an environment where it was the smartest possible response. The fact that you survived, that you're sitting here, having handled everything on your own, is proof that the adaptation worked. The question is, does it still need to? Every level 2 and level 3 pattern has an origin, and it almost never starts with a single dramatic event. It starts with small, repeated moments. You're 6 and you're upset about something at school. You tell your parent. They're distracted, or they dismiss it. You're fine. Stop being dramatic. Figure it out. No cruelty, just absence. Your brain logs that interaction, then the next one, and the next, until it reaches a conclusion that feels less like a decision and more like a fact. If I need something, I have to get it myself. This isn't who you are. It's what you learned to do. And the distinction matters. Because if hyper-independence is a personality trait, you're stuck with it. But if it's a learned adaptation, a strategy your nervous system developed to survive a specific environment, then it can be updated. Not erased, not replaced. Updated. At 15, it looked like doing group projects alone and telling the teacher you'd handle the whole thing yourself. At 25, it looked like moving cities without telling anyone, starting a new job, setting up an entire life, and feeling proud that nobody helped. At 35, it looks like burnout, running a household, managing a career, holding everything together, and having no idea how to say, "I can't do this alone." The behavior adapted to context. The reason didn't. So if this pattern was learned, can it be unlearned? The goal isn't to become dependent. Nobody's asking you to stop being capable. The goal is interdependence, the ability to do things on your own and to receive help when it's offered. Not because you're weak, but because connection isn't a threat. Hyper-independence isn't a personality trait you need to fix. It's a survival strategy you developed in an environment that required it. Updating it doesn't mean you were wrong. It means the environment changed. Here's how you start. And I want to be specific, because vague advice is useless to a brain that's been running in self-reliance mode for decades. Step 1. The low-stakes ask. Start with asks that have zero emotional weight. Can you hand me that? What do you recommend on the menu? Which way to the train station? These sound trivial, and that's the point. You're training your nervous system that asking doesn't lead to danger. Try it this week with a stranger. Ask for a recommendation. Notice what happens in your body when you do. That reaction, even a small one, is the pattern showing up to protect you. Now you can see it. Step 2. The delayed response. When someone offers help, give yourself a 3-second pause before you answer. That automatic "I'm fine" fires in under a second. The pause gives your prefrontal cortex time to override the reflex. You don't have to say yes. You just have to stop saying no on autopilot. Next time a colleague offers to take something off your plate, count to 3. Then decide. One warning. Don't turn this into another self-improvement project you have to do alone. If your response to "learn to ask for help" is "I'll figure out how to do that by myself," that's the pattern running. Let someone in on this. Tell one person what you're working on. And that brings us back to the question we started with. 3 levels. Healthy independence, where you can ask and receive. Adaptive independence, where your brain learned to stop relying on unpredictable people. And identity-fused independence, where self-sufficiency became your identity, and receiving help triggers shame. The reframe. You didn't choose hyper-independence. Your nervous system chose it for you, in an environment where it was the safest available option. You came in thinking your independence was a strength you chose. Now you know it's a strategy your brain developed to survive an environment where depending on others wasn't safe. That reflex that fires when someone offers you help, the one that says, "I'm fine," before you've even thought about it, that reflex kept you safe when you were too small to keep yourself safe any other way. It was never a flaw. It was never laziness. It was a child learning to protect themselves the only way they knew how. But you're not in that environment anymore. And the people reaching across that gap? Some of them are worth letting in. Which level hit hardest for you? Drop it in the comments and tell me, when was the last time someone offered to help you and your first instinct was to say, "I'm fine"? This pattern of adapting to protect yourself, it doesn't just show up in how you handle help. It shows up in who you become around other people. If you've ever felt like a completely different version of yourself depending on who you're with, professional at work, softer with family, almost unrecognizable to yourself in a crowd, there's a reason for that too. And it starts in the same place this one does.